And kind of going into, we talked about your litigation practice. Do you handle both litigation matters and USCIS affirmative L1s and stuff like that at the
We
same
do
time?
every, our practice, we have 50 people here at the firm. We do everything. So we do family, employment, removal, litigation. We do everything.
What do you focus on yourself?
I do everything. I've done everything my whole career. I'm not a specific guy. I've done, like, for example, I have filed over 300 cases in federal court. So I've got lots of litigation that I've done. I've handled over 700 trials in immigration court. I've filed hundreds of H's and L's and labor certs. I've done thousands of family cases. I like the general nature of immigration practice without just saying I'm only going to do family or I'm only going to do business. I think it's really hard to do one thing because I think as an immigration lawyer, you need to be able to tell the client, well, you have other options here.
Yeah.
And here's how those options work. Now, it doesn't mean that you're an expert in everything, but you need to know everything in order to properly advise clients. And when I started back in 1989, immigration was a lot simpler. In 1990, I was actually kind of a beneficiary of IMAC 90 because the law changed. I'd only been a lawyer a year when IMAC 90 passed. So I hadn't really learned the law all that much under the old provisions. And so all these old timer lawyers, like all my mentors, they had to rethink everything to learn the new 212, the new 237, the new 240, all cancellation. I didn't have to do that. That was okay. It was just part of who I was.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to learn the practice from Roxy Bacon and Nancy Jo Merritt and Angelo Paparelli. And they did everything. Back in the day, you did everything. Yeah. You just didn't. There wasn't enough work to only do H's. There wasn't enough work to only do labor certs. That's not how things worked back in the day. You did everything. And I cut my teeth on litigation working with Nancy Jo Merritt in Phoenix, who's just an amazing litigator in federal court, and really benefited from a lot of immigration court experiences that we had. I started my career in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. I'm an ASU grad. I worked there for 4 years before I got headhunted to a practice here in Atlanta. Which the practice itself was primarily a business practice, but I expanded it to do everything just because I like to do it. I love doing asylum cases. I love the back and forth of immigration court, which is the wild west of litigation, right? I mean, no discovery, no rules of evidence. Oh, let's just go. Ask my client. Don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. Well, you clearly haven't been to immigration court, have you? And to still do federal litigation at the same time is just a blast.
How do you deal with the demanding nature of all that? I mean,
I
you
read a lot
there a whole day. What's that?
I read a lot. I mean, how do I deal with like going to court for a day or?
Yeah,
somebody asked me. I've had my son, who's an immigration lawyer in Utah, said, "Why don't you be a judge?" I said, "I could never be a judge. That's how boring that is. Listening to the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I couldn't do that." Immigration court trials last 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. I mean, I've had several last days, but those are the general ones.
Yeah.
You're in and out, you're done. And I mean, one of the benefits that a lot of practitioners have today is you can do immigration court hearings from your office.
Yeah.
Now, not that I'm a fan of that. I think that's a terrible idea, but it frees you up to do stuff like that. But I spend most of my days today just doing consultations, talking to people, strategizing on cases, and then taking cases like Shea, like 21 Savage's case, and just going full bore into that. We've got several cases like Savage's that I'm working on that are just a lot of fun to work on, difficult, high-end, crazy stuff.
That's interesting. Yeah, I started full service too with the attorney. His name was Ed Damon. He started in the early 80s, actually, Edward Damon in Los Angeles. So we did everything. But traffic in LA is really bad going to downtown, and the courthouse there is just a mess. And I'm like, I'd rather just sit here. I like reading and talking about immigration a lot the most. So I'm like, I got to just design a practice that lets me just talk, especially with professionals like yourself, because I like the higher end, like complex kind of
conversation. We don't have LA traffic, John. I mean, everybody complains about Atlanta traffic, but my office is 5 minutes from a train station, and I can be downtown in 30 minutes if I take the MARTA. But generally, I can drive down there in 45 on the worst days. So, for me, it's not that big a deal. USCIS is not downtown anymore. USAS moved out of downtown about 10 years ago. They're on what we call the perimeter. So they're no more. I can be there in 15 minutes. And then I also teach law school. I'm in my 24th year as a adjunct law professor. First 13 at UGA. That was a drive. That was 2.5 hours out to Athens. But in the last 12 down here at Emory. And I love doing that too. But again, I wouldn't want to be a law professor.
Yeah.
Because, as much as I love writing briefs, I hate writing articles. Like, it's one of the things when Ayla ever asks me to speak, my first question is, do I have to write the article? And they always say, no, Chuck, somebody else is writing the article. You don't have to write the article. Good. Done with articles. I'm just so done with them. Well, I'm working on a fun one right now on the Visa Bulletin apocalypse that I predicted in June, by the way. I said, it's coming. Get ready. Here it is.
The complete disaster.
But I love what I do. And I love the people I do it with. We have just a great practice. I've got a wonderful partners. We've got great associates. We've got amazing paralegals. And the practice is vibrant. There's just so much going on.